Gary Rude from Patience Metal Fab, and this is Mike Morgan's 1950 Ford F-1. Concept for this truck was nothing more than an open wheel hot rod. He brought to us a cab, part of an unusable bed, and a couple pieces of a grill, and that was the extent of it. There was no floor in the cab, no pillars, no firewall. Really gave us the creative room to run with it kind of how we wanted to. So what we started with was a Roadster Shop chassis that we further cut up to fit the wheelbase that he wanted, get the axle way forward, and really push that motor back in it. So let's take a look around it. Obviously, the first things you might notice are the aero touches on the truck and the big square wheel setup. He just wanted something that was not a traditional hot rod, but embraced kind of our racing background as a shop. So this is what you get when you cross a motorsports race shop with a hot rod shop. So where this turn really took a change was in the wheels. The original plan was some old steel slotted keystones. Well, Mike got himself into a wheel catalog and resulted into a custom 3-piece set of Rotiforms on it. Obviously, the rest of the truck needs to be built to match the level of the wheels, and everything went right over the edge at that point. The front end of the truck is all Roadster Shop's IFS front end. That is the most cost-effective way for us to build a chassis for a customer. We can R&D a suspension, but when someone like Roadster Shop already has one that's seen to work, then it's easier and more cost-effective to go that route. However, they didn't offer a rear end that matched what we felt was going to be proper for this truck. So if you come around back here, excuse the dirt, it did just get back from Tail of the Dragon. So the back is not Roadster Shop. That's 100% us. Basically, the chassis was cut at the back of the cab. We fabricated everything out back and put a Watts link in it, which is something that we've found real success with in campaigning a Mustang on the Super Unlimited circuit for NASA for a while. We have the knowledge of how to make that work. We're comfortable with it, so it just seemed the best fit. Sticking along the lines of the race pedigree in this thing, it does have an FIA approved fuel safe cell, sporting 2 Hellcat pumps in it for any future power mods that he wants. Other than that, I mean, it's just typical hot rod show car stuff. Real clean when it's not dirty. Inside the truck, due to what it was going to be used for, it did get a full cage, 1 3/4 120 wall DOM. Nothing that necessarily follows any sanctioning body rules because we didn't want down bars going out the back of it. But kind of a cool touch on this, we worked with Sean Henderson from Stitch Upholstery in Minneapolis, and during the build, we kind of came up with the concept of the cage bars being tucked into the interior. So we actually tabbed off of all of the bars so that the interior is basically mounted on the center line of the cage, giving it the appearance that the cage is actually sunk into the truck itself. Mike didn't want to do anything too high-tech on the dash. He wanted to stick with analog gauges, so in the spirit of everything else, went Ford Racing gauges on it by Autometer. It does have an automatic in it, so it's got a push-button control on the center console. It also has Powertrain Control Solutions paddle shifter at the wheel, so when he's autocrossing the truck, he's still got good crisp control of the gears. Set of Corbo seats that, again, Sean over at Stitch put his touch on, pulled all the stitching out, put the nice blue stitching in. Also added AC and seats to them, so Mike's ass is comfortable. Corbo harnesses to kind of round it out. All the center console tubing is integrated into the body of the truck. This thing really was built to kind of be a safety capsule separate from the chassis. So instead of the cage being tied to the chassis, the cage is actually, the subfloor and everything is all cage. So, I mean, it's built to protect him in the case of a serious incident where the cage were to pull away from, or the cab were to pull away from the chassis. This thing would serve as a rollover capsule for him, similar to like a 25.5 in drag racing. So for climate control, the truck does have vintage air climate control in it. Again, didn't want to go too crazy on interior stuff. The transmission control is actually behind an accessible cover here to allow him to be able to tune the transmission on the fly. Other than that, vintage air vents to kind of just give a nice touch. They're the only two vents in the truck. He does have floor and defrost. To round out the interior, did a nice set of low car handles on it. The door panels, again, Sean Henderson, man, the guy works his wonders. You know, we kind of let him run with the creative direction on the interior, and you know, he really knocked it out of the park on this one. Speaking of that, if you check out the headliner, there wasn't really anywhere good for speakers. So there's two speakers mounted in the headliner, hidden away, and then to match the headlights, got a nice little LED touch up there, which can toggle back and forth between white for his actual dome light and the blue. It's kind of a nice little touch by Sean there.
Yeah, so what would you say would be the most challenging aspect of this car when you guys were building it?
Finding a direction for it, probably.
Sure.
You know, every build kind of has its sort of like identity, you know, and trying to figure out, you know, sometimes you get a customer that comes in and they know exactly what they want down to every detail. And Mike didn't. And so he kind of let us run with the creativity, which is cool because as a shop, that doesn't happen that much. And you kind of get to put your own spin on things. But the flip side is you got to figure out what that spin's going to be. You know what I mean? What it's going to actually look like. So we kind of just, we knew the things that needed to be done and then sort of focused on those, and then the rest of the truck kind of took shape as it evolved. I mean, like the cutaways on the pillars, so like the A-pillars on this thing, a lot of people don't notice. Like down, they're cut away similar to like what you'd see on a big Aero car. And that's because without the fenders, which used to cover that part of the pillar's really ugly. So we had to do something to make it look the part, right? And I mean, there was probably 10 different revisions on what we wanted to do down there, you know, before we actually came up with something. And each one, you know, we'd bring Mike in and we'd talk about it, and we'd kind of play with some ideas, and then, you know, you don't really come up with a solution all the time right away. So, and like the splitter, we knew we wanted to do a little ducktail. We knew we wanted to put like Aero touches on it. But the splitter, that wasn't a sure deal until this thing was literally done and in paint. And we started playing with cardboard and being like, well, is it going to look good or not? You know, so, you know, that's a big challenge when you're building something where you don't have a dedicated plan from the beginning of like, this is what this is going to look like. You know, there's no rendering going into this. So it was definitely a little bit of a challenge there. But
yeah, because did you guys like sketch up anything?
Nothing.
You kind of just played it by ear.
Yep. Everything was just kind of open-ended, and we had a general idea, the concept of no fenders, and that was it.
Sure.
So, you know, like I said before, you know, it takes a turn where it's like, all right, we're gonna run steel wheels on this, so it's not that fancy of a build, and then all of a sudden, something like the wheels happen, and bam, you know, you got changes the whole scope of the build, you know, and then the guy goes out and buys, you know, Brazilian cherry bedwood. It's like, all right, so we're going this direction with this thing. Okay, cool, you know.
Now, how long did this kind of take from start to finish, if you will?
So, conversations and like consultations aside, Mike dropped the truck off in April of 2019.
Okay.
And back to the 50s, 2021 was kind of its debut. So, I mean, it was over a 2-year build. You know, there's over 2,000 hours into this truck.
Wow. Wow.
But, you know, what a lot of people don't think about is when somebody brings you just a cab, right? Like, I mean, there wasn't even glove box door. There was no ashtray. There was no, I mean, it was a cab and doors. The bed wasn't usable.
Yep.
And part of a grill. So, I mean, it was like,
Wow.
man, there's just, you know, you literally have to build everything. I mean, and like blending the shape of the grill into the hood.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
just subtleties where it's like when it's done, you look at it and it seems like an obvious solution. Oh yeah, that looks good. But it's like, do you know how many hours were spent standing there scratching your head, playing with different concepts of like, how are we going to make this thing look good? Like, how are we going to blend this grill, which is one shape, into this hood, which is a completely different shape, you know? And the truck that he had taken as inspiration was more of kind of a DIY garage built, so details like that weren't there. So it was like there was no option to just do it like that, you know, make it look like that, because it wasn't really acceptable for the level of the truck.
Sure.
And the backstory on this thing is pretty incredible too. The truck went to Canada to a shop to build it. It was a complete driver, and then the guy up there parted the thing out, sold everything he wasn't going to use, but they never did anything really to build the truck or move it forward. He kind of built a chassis for it that was, I mean, dangerously bad.
Yeah.
And it, you know, wound up involving a lawsuit, and Mike had to go and find the thing. He had to get a trailer and go to Canada to retrieve the truck. And it had been sandblasted, and it was sitting outside, so it was blasted and rusty now. And I mean, it was just a mess, you know. And so, I mean, to culminate in this and him finally having this thing done and being able to drive it, Crown Rally was a huge thing for us to make sure he was able to do this year.
Yeah.
You know.
How long have you guys been, because this was kind of the first turnkey project that you guys had, were you guys able to build some new relationships with other suppliers that you wouldn't have really touched base if you never had a project like this?
Yeah, you know, like Sean over at Top Stitch, for instance. We've all known each other for a long time. But for the most part, it's always been a referral. Hey, call this guy, he'll take care of you. Customer handles it on his own, you know. You get closer with somebody when you're actually working with them from the collaboration standpoint. Where, while we're building the cage, we got Sean coming out to the shop, and he's, you know, we're talking through where the tabs need to go. You know, how do you want to see this built out? And you know, you kind of take your relationship with another shop to another level.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of fun.
Open?
2010 is when we initially opened the shop, and we were actually building air ride mini trucks in the beginning. And we were doing it alongside day jobs. And we, you know, so for about 5 years, we worked a day job and then went home, ate, came to the shop, worked evenings till midnight, got up and did it all again. It took 5 years to build enough of a reputation to where we could actually charge some sort of a rate that, you know, we could feed ourselves on.
Right.
You know, that was 2015 when we took it full time, so 6 years now full time.
That's amazing.
You know, we've done air ride stuff in the beginning, and then we got into doing a lot of race car stuff. Obviously, we're known for our cages, but you know, the hot rod thing really kind of came later. We had a couple guys that we knew that had a couple older guys that had some hot rods that had a lot of problems. We got underneath them and took a look at them.
Sure.
And when you come from building race cars, and then you look at what a lot of these hot rods on the street are chassis work wise, I mean, it's just scary. You know, it's when you build a race car, it's got to go out and work, right? Because if it doesn't, it's going to prove itself.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're testing it to its full
So,
abilities.
You know, these guys that, you know, body shops or whatever, you know, they build a beautiful car, but they just don't have the know-how to do the chassis work. And it winds up being something that's not, you know, usable. Right, and it's scary and it's dangerous.
Would you say that this project is one of your bigger undertakings?
Yeah, for sure. We don't do, you know, traditionally we don't do a whole lot with like turnkey complete builds.
Yeah.
Right.
all down to like body paint, interior, all that stuff. Where we
It makes sense. I
facilitate
mean,
all of it.
fabricators in general, it's like, hey, I need this, piece welded up for my project.
Yep.
And this kind of took a different turn.
Yeah, like we do quite a bit of chassis work. Like I say, our hot rod customers really began with guys that would bring us something as a finished hot rod, that the suspension, the chassis work, whatever it may be, just was not done correctly. And we go in, cut up what we need to, change things, whether it's just changing out suspension setup or fully getting in and cutting a front end off a car and redoing it. And that's the type of stuff that we do quite a bit of. But then, you get something like this that lands in your lap, you take it all the way through to the end, and we've got all the assets in our circle, be it the interior guy, be it the body and paint guy. So we can certainly do it, but I mean, it's just a huge amount of hours, and just the time you spent, following up on this and running around for this and that.
Coordinating everything.
Yeah, so.
You're a project manager at that point, rather than just you're focused on one task at a time.
Yeah.
And then, you just turn that, but.
So, I mean, this is a super fun build, and, we would absolutely continue to build turnkey builds as they come in the door.
Definitely a one-off. You guys absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and I want to thank you guys again for allowing me to do this video. And I'll leave all of all the shops that have worked on this, but most importantly, MIshimoto Fab. I'll leave all their contact information in the description. With that being said, thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace.